Well, I guess let's chat about just some updates for the week before we dive into the meat and potatoes, or the smart popcorn, if you will.
Yeah, you
Um,
were at Scale and Escape, right?
I was. So this time last week was at the Scale and Escape event in Hollywood, Florida. It was at the Hard Rock Cafe slash Casino Hotel. So I had been there before dropping off friends, but I kind of forgot that the entire first floor of that place is essentially like a shopping mall and a casino. So you're weaving in and out of this event, seeing different people, and everybody's just playing slots and gambling and stuff like that. But that was a really, really cool event hosted by Kent Clothier, and a lot of cool speakers, even people outside of real estate, like Hall of Fame shortstop, third baseman Alex Rodriguez was there. Ed Milet, who we're going to loop back to, he was, if you guys follow me, he was for 2021, my top listened to podcast on Spotify, or at least that's what Spotify told me. Gave an amazing, amazing presentation. And I think there's something powerful too of like literally I'm just being like right next to him when he came in. He like walked in behind me. I just felt like a swift wind. And I look back and I see a tatted guy carrying like 3 Louis Vuitton duffel bags. And I'm like, oh, that's Ed Milet. So that is pretty cool. Just that proximity of being so close to Ed Milet, that was cool. And then they had really popular real estate speakers. Justin Colby, he's the man. Saw Chris Lewis,
Yeah,
who works with him, and I know him from Baltimore. So got to chat with those guys. Saw Pace and Jamil.
Yeah, you said you
as
saw
well.
Pace, man. How'd that go?
I mean, he's the man. He's the man. Like, and I'm big into people, energy, stuff like that. Like, there's just a different energy with him, really, that you can just feel in the room. So it was nice to touch base with him. And Jamil briefly. I drove up with Esteban, my buddy Esteban, who does a lot of Facebook ads and digital marketing for folks. So I drove up with Esteban and his buddy that does recruiting, that's outside of real estate. Want to give them a shout out. And I didn't mention, got to connect with a lot of South Florida friends that just happened to be at the event. So a couple people in the academy and Investor Fuse users, Rob, Alec and Phil Shaw, even got to hop on a call with Alec to go through his IF3, which he's absolutely loving and crushing it with.
Of course,
love seeing.
Who wouldn't love IF3?
Yeah, he showed me some deals that he's closed that were over a year of follow up, over like 40, 50 touches right in his IF3. It was beautiful. I was like a proud father. Yeah, just connect, like, just I loved going there because there were just so many people I wasn't even expecting to be there. Even some of my friends that I hang out with here locally that were just there. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So that was cool. I also wanted to bring up a couple other things. Carrot Camp is this week, which I've been tuning in from across the country, from Florida to Oregon. So seeing a lot of cool people there and some Investor Fuse members. Keith Sant just spoke to one of his business partners yesterday. So it looks like they're going to get moved over to the new version of Investor Fuse at some point here soon. Super, super exciting. First time I'm mentioning that to you, John. So Carrot Camp looks like it's rocking and rolling. And then also, this is another thing too, the home buying, home selling solutions team, who have blown up over the last few years. We met them in 2019 at Wholesaling Live in Houston. They are hosting a huge event. They've been putting a ton of marketing called Wholesaling Live, where they're literally bringing in all these different marketing experts, marketing for deals live, and they're just working leads and closing deals through the entirety of the event. No speakers. Cool. This is like a Papa P type event. No fluff, no speakers, no motivation. It's literally they're cold calling, texting, doing all these leads with, guru influencer type peoples there, and teaching people live how to close deals. And I got to connect with Charles a couple weeks ago at the Hive Mind event up in Fort Lauderdale. Charles was nice enough to, and we were doing this yesterday, a couple days ago, getting him set up with some Investor Fuse stuff so they can provide a good CRM solution to all the wholesalers and investors there in San Antonio. This weekend, I would be there if it wasn't for Dan Schwartz's wedding in San Diego, which I'm also super pumped for. So forgot to mention those two, but yeah, a lot of good events this weekend to mention for kind of like the pulse of the week, or updates rather.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on in the wholesaling world.
A lot of stuff.
It is a lot of stuff. Always motivational. Always got some type of event going on. It's picked up over the last couple of years.
It definitely has picked up as Brandin drops off.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think the last few years, Poppy, if you want to finish that thought, wholesaling has just become so mainstream. I've mentioned a couple times. Wholesaling is just becoming more and more mainstream, where there's TikToks of girls dancing, talking about text blasting tools or cold calling tools, versus when when I was wholesaling myself, real estate agents and mortgage brokers didn't know what it is.
Yeah.
Now it's like so mainstream. So really, really picking up.
Super.
Yeah, man. I dig that. One thing I wanted to touch on, if I can actually get my thought in before my spectrum decides to shut me down on a conspiracy theory. I wanted to touch on last week's leadership, something that it was in John Maxwell, something I had read in that book, and then I started implementing it. And I felt like it was really important to say, is we talked about all the things that a leader must be, asking questions. And it's always about asking, right? Like, what can I do? What can I do? Or what can you do? Asking why, getting them to understand. But what I didn't touch on and what I started implementing last week, and I felt is like something that has helped me over this past week and has definitely seen a difference in like the way my team responds, is also just picking one or two people out. And that's what he was saying, is giving affirmations. He's like, even as a team, he's like, you need to go and let somebody know when they do a good job. Don't just say good job. Specifically tell them what it is they did good and how it impacted the team. So you need to be specific with your intention, and not just say, hey man, on that project, good job over there. Hey, good job getting that deal. It's like, hey, John, you did a really good job last week getting that deal. You enabled our dispo team to be able to sell it at a high price, and now everyone's going to get a bonus over it. And you did a really good job, because that deal definitely moved our trajectory for the month all the way up, and we made our numbers because of that deal. Great, you know what I mean? And then his response was, people would be like, well, what if they're not available and then too much time passes by? And he said, you will find when it comes to giving somebody affirmation, they will always be available to hear it. And it's true. So I've already picked, and again, you've got to pick one or two people at a time. You don't want to do everybody all at once. It needs to be intentional. When you see something, you need to do that and make a habit of it becoming a weekly thing for you, whether you're going to call them, meet them in person, or write it down and send them a message. But you need to be intentional about it. It's something that I want to implement, and I started to. And I kind of like it, man. I did it today with somebody, and I was like, made me feel good about it, right? Like, I felt good that I was making them feel good. So just another tip, following up on last week's episode on leadership, something else that I personally need to be better at as I work on my leadership qualities this year, which was one of my main goals.
I love it. You're almost adding like a OKR type structure to the praise you're giving. Like, you're specifically saying how it impacts, the team in this way, in what department, everything like that. So that's super, super cool. As we roll through that, I think we can talk a little bit about traits of, see if Brandon and John get on here. A little bit of technical difficulties. Might have to chop this up on the.
Dude,
lost both you guys.
Don't wait for me. You just keep going, Carlos.
Oh, I was rolling. I lost both you guys, but I was saying that I like the way that you break. I like the way that you broke that down, because you're almost adding an OKR type format to your praise or your affirmation. Like, you're saying what they did well, what department it affected, what departments got affected by the direct department. So it's like, I don't know if you're familiar. You're probably familiar with OKRs, but that was kind of the structure I was feeling through that. So that's cool. And I also appreciate, as Papa P, and we all try to be, we're going to tell you what we're not good and what we're working at. We're not just going to say like what's good all the time. Like, there's more stuff that I'm working on than I'm very confident in myself, but, and I have a lot of special, unique genius, but like, we all three are going to tell you what we're working on and what we're trying to improve.
Yeah. You can only grow as much as your company or organization is only going to grow so much as you grow. Which, speaking of which, right, as we grow, we develop these traits, right? And Carlos alluded to it, why we got kicked off by Spectrum, of going into this thing of what the traits of a real estate investor. Carlos is in a unique position to be able to give his input on this. So John and I asked him to kind of dive deep into traits that he sees. If you know anything about all three of us, we each have our unique gifts to bring to this, right? And one of Carlos's is his ability to talk to anybody in the industry on a real level. And he knows, probably if I were to say out of everyone I know, he probably knows the most people. You ever hear of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? In real estate, it's 6 degrees of Carlos Zamora. That's it. It's 6 degrees. I don't know if you ever remember Kevin Bacon, but there was a whole thing, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Anyway, he knows a lot of people, and he gets to see successful, average, and unsuccessful real estate investors from many different sides over the course of his years here. And I thought he would be in a unique perspective to kind of put it all together and say, what are some of the traits as we're trying to progress in real estate? What are some of the traits that make us great? What are some of the traits that he has seen that majority of the best real estate investors, not just wholesalers, but flippers, right? Marketers, just in general, lead generators, these types of people, what did they have? So Carlos, I wanted to open it up. If you could kind of run through maybe kind of like some of the traits and then dive deep into some of them. I'd love to know, because personally, I don't know about anyone else listening, but I'm going to be sitting here with a little checklist saying, do I have this trait? I have this one. Oh, got to add that one to the list. So I'm going to keep tabs on my remarkable tablet here of what traits I have and don't have. Well, let's do it.
I like this. I'm excited.
I love that. I appreciate the tee up. If anybody is listening to this, the 6 degrees of Carlos Zamora, and you have a contact at Spectrum that can help improve the internet here, feel free to chime in the comments and get that fixed for us. So, no, I appreciate that, man. And Brandon and I obviously haven't known each other as much as John, but very grateful and fortunate. And I've talked about this even on some podcasts recently that I've been on, that when I was wholesaling, I enjoyed it and I was good at it and could negotiate with sellers. But what I really came to love from like day one is just being able to work with an investment company and kind of get like a 30,000 foot view of how they do their acquisitions and really run their business, and just be kind of like, you know, a consultant and come more of like a teammate / friend perspective, instead of like negotiating people in Baltimore in distressed situations, trying to get them to sell for as cheap as possible. I'd have a different appreciation going back into it if I happened to be living in Baltimore doing real estate there, but really have enjoyed doing that for 6.5 years now, which is cool. So I think that, mixed with, as I'm always kind of studying and analyzing my own self and how my own mind works, I think I kind of naturally, always see the best in people. Like I kind of always give people the benefit of the doubt. I always like trend upwards of seeing just like what is the best thing about this person naturally. And I'm intrigued by that. So I think that for over 6.5 years being in real estate, meeting a lot of amazing wholesalers and investors, being a part of a couple other masterminds that aren't real estate specific, and kind of seeing people that are successful in both, there's a lot of commonalities of just anybody that has a quality life, is just solid as a person, have a lot of these commonalities. So the very first one that I came up with is delayed gratification. And I ripped just a quick, because we all kind of know, like a lot of this stuff or definitions, people are just like, oh yeah, I know what this is, but I did want to rip this. This is just from online. But delayed gratification is the resistance to temptation of an immediate pleasure in the hope of obtaining a valuable and long-lasting reward in the long term. So what does that mean exactly? For me, what that means, I always see stuff from like kind of the human psychology or how humans are wired. I think that the animal part of your brain is always kind of wired for survival and keeping you away from pain. Two of my favorite books on sales, two of the most popular books on sales, Pitch Anything, Never Split the Difference, both talk about this part of your brain that is designed from thousands and thousands of years ago to keep you alive. Same kind of thing with delayed gratification. You're naturally more inclined just to do stuff that makes you feel good. You might eat food. You might, now with social media, all the dopamine hits you get, you kind of just naturally do that thing a little bit more. So to tee this up for successful investors and people that just have successful quality of lives, in general, they're able to take on and appreciate delayed gratification more than other people. This isn't something that you're just born with immediately. It's something that's over time. So if you're not amazing at this, like a big principle of this show is like, don't beat yourself up, become aware and how you can work on it. There's a lot of books as well. And I kind of want to kick it to you guys for some feedback, but there are multiple books that I've read that all cite this same study where it followed a big classroom of children when they were young, like 5,
Oh,
6 years
yeah.
old. You've heard this. It's in so
Yeah,
many
I've heard
books.
this.
I'm like, oh, I've heard this same
Phenomenal.
study. Studies suggest, if anybody's on live, but it essentially followed these kids, and it was like 20 or 40 years later, all of them that showed better delayed gratification when they were little, literally every single one was more successful.
They gave them
on.
cookies. They
Yeah.
tested them out with cookies. They would give them like 1 or 2 cookies and say, hey, you can eat this now, or if you wait, you'll get all this if you wait like X amount of minutes. And the kids that were willing to wait were more successful versus the ones that won't. I used that study, dude. That hit home when I saw that. I used that for my kids. I tested my kids. My son has excellent delayed gratification. He will wait. He understands value. My daughter, on the other hand, she's taking the bird in the hand. Bird in the hand. She's ready to grab it.
That's so funny.
I don't want to dive too deep on delayed because I know you got like a huge list you want to go through. But I thought it was funny because we always talk about on this show doing the job and actually learning it and working it yourself instead of delayed gratification is in building it, understanding it, and doing it and implementing versus hiring out.
I think you're muted, John, unless that's your connection.
Now you can hear me. Yeah.
There we go.
I can. Oh, he's back, so he can finish his own thought because I was muted.
Outsourcing every single thing, essentially, that's your gratification, instant gratification. I want to make money today. I'm not going to learn this. I'm going to hire this call center. I'm going to hire this person to give me my leads. I'm going to JV and hire this person to do my dispo.
And you keep going down the line. You just you keep you keep getting delayed gratification. I think that's an interesting perspective on that in an operational sense. A lot of people, when they hear the words delayed gratification, they're like, I'm going to wait to buy my Ferrari. And I think that that's a case that we often see on social media. Yeah, like Nick Perry, I remember him, he posted, like, I finally got my Ferrari. That was only like a year ago or something like that. And I mean, I know he's already very successful in that. And it was a post about delayed gratification. But I think you're totally right. Like, there's an essence of, like, the things that you can buy, the life you can live with success. But then also, as a business person, what can you do with success? Like, you have a bunch of employees, but in order to do it correctly and scale correctly, as we've talked about many times in the show, you got to do it. You got to do the work.
Like, I'm doing my own training program, building my guides from the ground up. I could go out there and pay $9.99 for somebody else's course. They would give me all of their training and I could implement that, adopt their thing. But that's not who I am. Like, I could delay my gratification. It may take me longer, but I enjoy that and I'm going to get greater satisfaction. That's all I want to say. I agree with you, John. It's about building the business to that delayed gratification, building the business, doing the deal. The longer the deal takes, generally the greater the rewards, right? A lot of probate stuff, title issues, like how long can you wait? Or are you just not going to follow up with that lead because it's too difficult and you want the guy who's ready to sell in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, and as it relates to leads too. Damn, Brandon, I didn't realize how deep delayed gratification was.
It's everywhere.
Mind fucking blown. What's next on the list? God, I love it.
It's everywhere.
Well,
I think to cap that really quick, and I think in general, there's going to be different levels of delayed gratification. So someone just starting off, for example, same person we were just talking about, massively successful. It took him like 9 months and 60 seller appointments, roughly around that, to get his first deal. So do you think if he didn't have delayed gratification that he could, 20th appointment, he could have said, you know what, after this, I'm done doing real estate. So I think at the beginning, it's stuff like that, just being able to do cold calls, going on seller lead appointments. And then as you scale, it's more so like, man, I'm going to take an hour building this process or recording this video so that 2 months down the line, a new hire can come on and hopefully that hire is good and can execute this. And in general too, working on the business instead of working in the business. Like, there's a lot of revenue generating activities that you can do. There's a lot of working on the business stuff, high level stuff that you could be doing that takes delayed gratification. So
100%.
Good stuff to jam on. And in short, there's just tons of examples of this all across the business that you would benefit by having a good level of delayed gratification. Next subject or next trait, if you will. And The next subject, systems in their lives.
Systems in their life.
So we were jamming on this a bit, and for me, because I talk about this a lot, and even have some modules for those of you guys that are in the academy. Florida guy Freddie was just texting me about this actually right now on Habits this morning. He was texting me about it, but having systems in your life, and that's for your business, and there's no definitive line or wall from your personal life as well. They almost naturally see just ways that they could make their life more efficient for anything that they're going to do more than one time in your life, which oftentimes is many things, especially in business. So think of it this way. And when we were wrapping on this early in the week, Papa P was talking about, and this is like a perfect example, we use him for the case study here, the example, you can go through real estate doing things kind of one-off and just kind of doing things as they come to you. This happens, all right, I'm just going to do this, I'll do it. This next thing happens. It could be on a deal. It could be setting up a marketing tool. It could be pulling a list. It could be any type of thing, but you kind of get slowed down, not just from the time doing it, but maybe more importantly, the energy it takes away from your brain and the creativity that you could be doing for other things. If you had delayed gratification, processes, networking, anything. So this doesn't have to mean, systems just means having employees. That can be, as we're talking about people that move forward and are growing their businesses. But for me, as I was describing this and how I see this, is just kind of how they view their life. And a personal example could be getting meal prep instead of going to the grocery store or getting takeout and stuff like that. It could be something as simple as, how do you get your haircut? Do you just do it at home? Or for me, I have somebody I text, I'm in and out in 25 minutes. Go right back home, don't have to clean anything up. So I wanted to kick it over to you guys as kind of like a little bit of a general overview of how I define and see systems in somebody's life.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The simplest system is it's systems create less cloud in your mind so you could focus on other things. Systems is another name for routine. And I also relate systems to systems in life beget systems in business. One of the simplest ones, and I know it's so cliche because Steve Jobs made it all about him. I was doing it long before it became cliche. And you see a lot of successful people doing it. It's the same outfit. To me, that's a system. My wife made a comment on it because she was watching an Instagram thing, and she's like, do all business owners just wear the same thing? Why is he doing it? And I'm like, honey, it's not about business owners. It's just one less decision that I make. And quite frankly, I don't care. I just wear the same thing. It's a system. It's a routine. I go in the same spot in my drawer. I grab the same thing. Put the same shoes on. I don't waste my time. It's a system for me because I have 1,000 other things I have to do. And it's just easier for me. Even when I was a solopreneur, I would systemize how I did my stuff. I had no assistant or anything. I'd have pre-formed emails, a lot of stuff. So it would make my life easy so I could perform more. I think if you don't have that, fuck, dude, if you don't have that, your life must be fucking chaos.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's when people hear the word systems, they think employees. And that's the key part that we're trying to circling around here. It's systems in that real estate's individual life, and how they approach their life, which includes their business, but extends far out of that. And I remember one of the first times this really kind of hit home for me, or really kind of made sense, was Dan Martell, our SaaS coach. He would post that, and I've heard other people, the Hermosis, talk about this, that you get into a system of just how you approach your day and what you do. And you could do a bunch of things to prepare for that, meditation, whatever. But if it's just this is what I do every day, this is how I do it, this is how I time block, then the days where your motivation isn't high, the systems, the habits take over, and you can maintain the ability to produce the work necessary to reach your goals, regardless of your emotional motivation to the day-to-day grind that you have to accomplish as a business owner. And that was really intriguing to me. It was it's just you get into a routine, you get into a system, and are able to scale past, oh my God, it's gloomy and weather out, and and rainy outside, or it's beautiful outside, whatever it might be that, outworldly things affecting you, you go into like autopilot mode and crush it.
Autopilot. And the key thing here is systems in your life and in your business change. I call it seasons. Using the outfit thing. I do the same thing. Before the show, I was eating my peanut butter sandwich. I pack the same lunch every single day. I eat the same thing every day. Generally, we have the same 4 meals for dinner every single night. We do routines. It's easy. It simplifies everything. But I also go in seasons. I don't there's a time where every day I wore a white t-shirt instead of a black t-shirt, or I wore these shoes instead of those. But generally, I'm doing that shit for a fucking year or 2 years. I've done it since I was a kid. The food thing, I've done that ever since I was probably a teenager working a job, and I had to systemize how I spent my time, and I needed to make my life easy. So you develop the same routines. And I think that if you're successful,
then it works. I don't know where he was going with that. Oh, he's back.
Can't operate out of chaos, so you need systems.
Yes. That's a great ending phrase there. Can't operate out of chaos. I like it. All right. What we got next?
Awesome. What we have next is long-term focus, daily execution, and consistency. Man, as somebody, and I know I keep harping on myself here because I guess I'm leading the convo, which is cool, but as somebody that thinks a lot about just life and the grand scheme of life and everything like that, if you have a long-term vision in place, you are just setting yourself up. It's almost a system or a forcing function in a sense. If you have a long-term focus and vision in place, you're almost putting a system to have a foundation of just being more motivated and more focused in your day-to-day, hour by hour, minute by minute life. And people that are successful typically all have some type of long-term focus, vision, goal, end goal of where they want to be with their life. And they're able to be consistent in their daily execution of that. So we talk a lot about this stuff on this show. And we even said it earlier on this episode, day to day, they know long term, even somewhat vaguely. It doesn't have to be super specific, the exact ranch in Montana, the exact square footage of the ranch in Montana that Papa P is going to retire to or have as a vacation home. But he has an idea of what it's going to be. And they simply put in the work consistently every single day. It could be in seasons. In some seasons of life, we're working more, we're grinding. In some seasons of life, it's maybe more relaxed. I don't think everybody wants to grind their face off for 60 years of working. But in short, they're consistent in their daily execution with a long-term vision in place, scaling of how specific or vague it is. And they stay motivated despite micro losing that they might take from day to day.
Micro losing.
Somebody could get, if someone has Spectrum Internet and they're going in and out of a live podcast show, they could get frustrated. But the people that have a long-term vision are successful, they're going to say, you know what, we're going to jam on this and keep rocking and rolling. But that's going to happen. You get kicked in the face in entrepreneurship, and especially in this industry. Deals go bad, the market, a plethora of things could happen, but they keep showing up. And want to kick it to you guys for any examples or what you think about that kind of in general. Hopefully you guys both heard me with internet.
Winning battles. Winning and losing battles is irrelevant as long as you win the war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sage old phrase.
I think Sun Tzu said that. I'm joking. Don't actually know that, but it sounds like something he would say. Sounds like something Sun Tzu would say. My man, Sun Tzu.
I have a question I want to ask you, Carlos, because I know that, this is kind of your forte. What's a practice that somebody might do to be able to keep that long-term focus in mind, so that they can, I know Brandon, for example, when he walks into the office, he goes over his TV and he puts on whatever is going to motivate him, like Lake House, Montana Ranch, whatever it's going to be. And he's got that, he's starting before even doing anything like that. That visualization is there. But are there some things that people can do that can help them grow this trait? Because that's the other thing too, is some of these traits you can be born with and it's just natural, but some of them you can grow and expand and get better at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it is nature. It's both nature and nurture, like depending kind of like on how you're raised. And I like that's like what you see. If somebody has like a really wealthy parent, their child might not be super motivated. Like a 9-year-old kid that's born with a silver spoon might not be motivated, but someone that didn't grow up wealthy, 9-year-old, they might be doing, their own paper route or working a job pretty much at 9 years old. So for long-term focus, what's something applicable someone can do? So I'll break it down into two things. One of them is a little bit of an overlap with Papa P. So for me, I like keeping some people, including Nick Perry, he's jammed, me and him have jammed on this in person many times. He's a big believer in having a physical vision board. He even has a team of VAs that will go and he tells them what he wants and they'll make a collage for him and then he's printed out. He literally has done that.
He's outsourced fucking who not
that.
out, baby. He's
literally outsourced that.
He's
literally outsourced that. I have not made a physical one. I should. And this is like something like of me. It's like I get caught up with tasks and don't end up doing it. What I have had for many, many years is a digital version of that. So I have my own clippings and visuals of what I want, whether it's houses, cars, some material stuff. Some of it is quotes where I just want to be able to like absorb the meaning of the quote. A lot of Stoic ones, things like that. And every single morning before I start working, I flip through that, what I call like a prosperity and abundance box. So I would say that's like the tangible thing is just getting pictures, clippings, things that you want, just good feeling things that you want in your life. I've went away a little bit from being super, super specific. Even on manifesting like a relationship with a girlfriend. I've even went away from specific height, weight, certain things because you hear so much of that for goal setting. It's like, man, you need to be super, super specific. I need to know the exact square footage of this lake house, where I've more so over the last year said, I want to have this in general, but I'm also open to whatever, I'm able to manifest or whatever type of thing comes my way that just feels in the right way. So that's something over the last year I've incorporated. So prosperity and abundance box, which is essentially your own vision board of stuff that you want in your life, stuff that makes you feel good, stuff that you can cast. And then I would recommend 2 books for visualizing. And that's where you're able to kind of see these things. That's going to be Psycho-Cybernetics. That is like the Godfather. That is like the Godfather part 1, 2, and 3 of like the self-help personal development. So I absolutely love that book. That was recommended to me a couple years ago on Stratton Brown's podcast. Shout out to Strat. I didn't get to see him in Dallas a couple weeks ago, but he recommended me that book. Grant Cardone, that's his favorite book in personal development that set him up on his path of success. That gives very tangible Psycho-Cybernetics. And even if you've read, like personal development type books, like I think all 3 of us have read a ton, I went back and that is literally like the staple, like Godfather thing of it.
I got it written down.
Me too.
And that really taps into, and this is like stuff that I absolutely love, was in the Aubrey Marcus mastermind for a few years. And he's big on this as well. Joe Dispenza, Becoming Supernatural. And in my opinion, they both kind of encapsulate the same thing, which is just how humans are wired, understanding how humans are wired. We are literally feeling and emotion beings, literally how we're wired. That's literally how your subconscious mind is impressed through feeling and emotion. And that's kind of what wires your autopilot behavior. So doing meditations and visualizing out of those 2 books, they give really good ones. And I think in general, reading that and then having that belief and then having your vision board, it kind of like fuses the 2 in a way that you just feel like money and can kind of like live as that person. We were talking about being on a previous episode. Like that's just my magic sauce that works for me, that type of stuff. Psycho-Cybernetics, Becoming Supernatural, and then just having like the visuals of stuff you're trying to manifest, writing it out as well. So maybe like having it written out too and being able to go back to it. January letter, I think we've talked about on this show. That kind of goes hand in. That's almost like a written form of the prosperity and abundance box with a certain time frame, a year out in the future. I mentioned Dan Schwartz earlier. It's his wedding this weekend. I have been sitting with him in a movie theater in San Diego. He pulls out an Evernote on his phone. This is like 2017 range. And he shows me a January letter from like a year or two before. And it's literally laying out investor views, X amount of customers at 197 a month. We have this team, we do this stuff. And it was like eerily scary. And I've been doing January letters ever since. So a lot to unpack there, but
I like that. I like that idea. I'm writing that.
I love
down.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do my own form of that. I don't write a letter to myself, but every January I write down, and it's nice to go back and to see, like, here's what I want, business and personal, and I don't look at it for the rest of the fucking year. I don't look at it. I usually don't even think about it until next January when I go to do it. And then I look at it and I mark off how well I did and how well did I stay on task. That doesn't mean I don't stay focused or consistent with my action, because deep down I know what I'm trying to achieve, but it's all the minutia of things that I want to do. Like, I know this year was releasing REI Ops Center. Like, I know that's on there. Doesn't mean I need to go back and look at what specific things I said about it. I would say this. My only thing is, running a business is like being trapped in a prison. You don't know when you're getting out. You just know you need to stick through to get to the life that you had or want. And you need to survive to get to the other side. So what do? You have a picture of your family. It's a vision board. You have a picture of something. So when John made a comment about me either watching a ranch video or a lake house or something, life sucks sometimes. It just fucking does. Sometimes nothing goes right. And what gets you through that? There was a time where I was watching some lake videos and I'm sending my wife and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? She's like, we have all this we have to do. Stop sending me this. You said you were going to do this today. And I got pissed. And I mean, we argued about it. I was like, this is what keeps me sane. I was like, if I don't do this every day to tell me what it's going to be, there's moments where I would want to stop. There's moments where I would say, holy shit, this employee problem, or like, God damn it, that deal didn't close, or holy shit, here it is again. 2 deals got pushed out and we needed that money, or oh my God, I just spent 20 grand on this and now that other money didn't come in. And it's, if you don't stay sane somehow, you're never going to get out on the other side. And that's where that consistency just is so important. It's staying consistent in your motivation and in your tasks. Because if you don't survive every single day in this prison of running a business,
some bad stuff could happen.
Some bad stuff could happen, yeah.
Bad stuff could totally happen.
There he is.
At the end of the day, you won't succeed.
I'm in this fucking Spectrum prison. But you know what I'm saying, though, right? It's like, and that's the thing, is daily execution, staying focused, staying consistent. It's the important thing. You need to get out to the other side. And it's not going to miraculously fucking happen. You're not just going to like clap your heels together and say, there's no place like a successful business. There's no place like it's.
No. And you could plan all the goals that you wanted, and then it still may not happen within that realm. And it's just like, that's the cycle of things. And I mean, selling investor fuse to Carrot, that came out of nowhere. Nobody was like, let's do it. Nobody was like, let's go look for this. Let's offer ourselves up out there. It just happened. And life is,
you have to stay open to that. But you also, so you could be open, like Carlos said and John said, you could be open to other things happening, but they align with what's in your ultimate vision, selling the company, doing this, who you sell it to.
Yes.
That minutia, same thing with trying to find that perfect spouse or significant other. But it's like, and what I do with my wife is like, we need a vision of what to achieve to get out to the other side. If I'm not looking at these things, who else is setting? It's like a visionary's mindset, right? Like I'm visioning where all this is taking us and what I need to do to get there. How much money, how much passive income, how many employees, all these things that we need to do. And if I don't do that every day, there's days where I want to quit. Yeah. There's days where I'm just like, holy fuck, I don't want to drive 2 hours to go see that property. It's fucking pouring rain. You know, but I got to go do it. Oh, I don't want to interview 10 more fucking people for them to only quit 2 days later. You know, some of it could be redundant, man. I agree with this. I think those are huge qualities, man. And if you're not consistent, if you're not willing to daily execute, even on the days that you don't want to, are you really, you're not meant to do this then. I mean,
Yeah,
everyone
that's
can do that, right?
yeah. As Brandon's riff right there is a perfect way of kind of chunking that into one concise thing. And as much as I love like kind of like quantum stuff or law of attraction, spiritual type stuff, even interviewed a dude from The Secret a few months ago, like when I first moved down here, Bob Proctor. It's the action. Like you want to have that stuff, but nothing's going to move the needle beside action. So that is a big chunk of that, obviously, with the daily execution and consistency.
You know, it's they say it's great to have dreams. I always just tell my daughter, it's like, you know, dreams are excellent. I was like, you dream anything is possible because everything is possible. I have all the dreams in the world, but sometimes even dreams need a little help.
Wise words from Papa P.
Wise words from a very decent man.
Yes.
The next trait.
What's next on the list?
The next trait. You real estate investors out here, you guys are. I might take the somewhat off. You guys are risk tolerant. You guys are just like, even more so than me. Like I'm a little bit more of an indoor cat in a sense of some of these real estate investors, man. They are just will like, and I think like this one and the next one are a little bit mixed together, so we can kind of collab on these. But man, you guys are just willing to take risk if you think there's any chance of success on the other end. One way that I see it is it's almost a way that these people, as I kind of like naturally automatically study these people, they almost are providing an intentional pressure on themselves as a forcing function to ensure success. They are, in other terms, they are like willing to go broke at a chance of being successful in this real estate venture that anybody listening to this to, or most people listening to this to, are willing to go through. Another example with Nick that I had the very first time I met him in person, actually, he was not doing this full time, and he was calling credit card companies to up his max budget to send more marketing out. And this is when he was working with somebody else, wasn't doing a ton of deals. He was just willing to just put in, maxing out his credit cards, essentially putting it all in his marketing, just because he's like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to be successful in this. And that's a extreme case of somebody that I've seen progress over the last 6.5 years. But a lot of you real estate investors, man, you guys are some outdoor cats. You're willing to take on risk, and I think it's risk and confidence in yourself, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
You gotta have the other side to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're willing to do the risk because they believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And what they're doing so much that, it almost doesn't matter.
I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
I've been broke, bro. I've been homeless. Like that's irrelevant to me. Like if it happens again, and that's the opposite of where my wife is on stuff, where I'm literally willing to live in a box. Like it doesn't matter. I'll ruin my credit. I've done it a million times. Not a million, but you know what I mean? Like I've done it multiple times in my life of running a business. Like you do what you got to do, but the key is the lessons you're learning. So it's not risk tolerant. It's educated chess. It's I am making educated moves, and I understand that I may lose here or there, but ultimately I'm learning from that. And I know even if I lose this, I'm going to learn something from that move, and I'm going to apply it forward, which will only make me move forward. I could lose all my money today, and I'll always be like, okay, cool. I won't do that again. Let me move forward and let me start from scratch again. So there's that confidence, right? Knowing that I could do that. But if you don't have some type of risk tolerance, Carlos, it's like, how fucking crazy do you have to be to take out money? And I get there's ways to do it with no money, but take $100,000 of your money, or you and your family's money, or you and your best friend's money, buy a fucking house when you've never done it before and watched YouTube, then dump another $30K into it, take 4 months, and most of the time you get no fucking construction experience, and somehow you say to yourself, this is going to work out and we're going to make a shitload of money. You got to be a little bit fucking crazy to do that, a little bit of a risk taker. And listen, it doesn't pan out for everybody because they don't have what it takes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for the ones that do, they get a rush from it, and they're like, they get validated.
I love that. Absolutely love that. One thing that Papa P mentioned when we were jamming on this is kind of like the dynamic between him and Brittany of cops have rules and criminals don't, which I absolutely love that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Rap on that for a minute.
You got to be willing to do, like, a criminal can do anything that they fucking want. There's no boundaries for them. You know, there's no, I mean, some will say there's no honor amongst thieves, or, you know, like, if all is fair in love and war, right? Like, you can do whatever you want, but a cop can't. So in order for a cop to chase a criminal, he's a couple steps behind unless he's willing to bend the rules, right? And so in this game of risk taking, you have to be willing to let it all go if you expect to compete with everybody else out there. You have to. Everyone else is taking risks. They're willing to put their money down. They're willing to pay X amount of money for a deal. They're willing to up their credit card payment, run a 50,000 credit card debt, or however much it was, I don't know, 100K credit card debt, just in hopes that your marketing pans out. You gotta be a little bit crazy to do that. Now, if you follow the rules and you don't go credit card debt and you only spend what you make and you set a little bit aside, you're gonna get there eventually. But you're not going to hit the big hits. You're not going to get the big wins because you're not leveraging properly. You're not risking enough to leverage those wins to be a larger proportional percentage win. So, yeah, it's almost like a criminal has no boundaries. They'll do whatever it takes to win. And that means risking everything, even their freedom, right? Their life. Live by the gun, die by the gun. 50 Cent. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, that's my take on it.
I love now, dude. That was a great breakdown. The producer's in my ear to clip that up to have it as a YouTube short on our channel. Let's roll through the next one, which this one's going to be a little bit quicker because it encapsulates somewhat of the risk, confidence. You know, cops have rules, criminals don't. Willing to go all in / burn the boats. So for me, this is like no plan B. This obviously encapsulates some confidence as well. Another example with my good friend, one of the top, now he's progressing to one of the top self-storage investors in the entire country, Fernando. When he started off wholesaling, he's told this story so many times on podcasts. He applied for like 60 some different credit cards and went like 6 figures in debt for direct mail marketing without closing a deal, without, you know, knowing how to sell to buyers, without knowing full negotiation, stuff like that. He kind of just did it. And it's like, if he didn't succeed, like maybe he would have been, you know, in a tough spot. But the principle of what we're going after is the willingness to do that. Him, other outdoor cats, you real estate investors are wild folks. You guys are willing to do that, the successful ones. What do you guys think?
Fuck yeah. I hate fucking part-time investors. Fuck you.
It's it's hard, and I was even thinking I was thinking of part-time people, which, you know, we all talk to some part-time people. Man, that is just a hard thing to be in. I know there's a lot that are watching other stuff, trying to transition into doing this full time, but man, that's challenging.
I don't mean part-time in the sense I believe all Americans, all whatever, not just Americans, all people. Real estate's a great tool for investments. I don't consider that part-time. I consider the people who say they're real estate investors. And then it's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, on the weekends, and I flip one house every single year. And that's cool. But it is 2 totally different categories, bro. Like we are not on the same page in life. You cannot relate to anything I'm going through. I get on the construction side or something. And so I know people like that, and it just bothers me. From somebody who quit their well-paid job, climbing the corporate ladder, drove off, left his fiance, whatever you want to call it, and kid, another state, drove 7 states away, and started a business from nothing. I take personal offense to the part-timers. I do. I know that's probably not the right thing to say in 2022, but I think they're all fucking pussies. Bro, if you're not willing to burn the boat, how much do you believe in what you're doing?
Yeah,
if you're not willing to go all in on what you say is supposed to be your life, how much, like, what are you willing to do? It's like you don't go marry somebody and then keep in touch with your exes on the back, just in case this doesn't fucking work out. And that's not how, I mean, in 2022, I'm sure that's probably what happens, but that's not the way to do it, right? You're either all in because you believe in something and this is who you are, or maybe you probably shouldn't be doing it, and that's okay too. You can do real estate, just not be an investor. Just buy it, and you can invest in REITs. There's all kinds of stuff. You could be a limited partner, a passive investor. There's ways to invest in. Grant Cardone's a perfect example, Cardone Capital, right? You can give him money and just get your return. You don't need to do what we do.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do, I got no retirement. I mean, my retirement is our rentals, our business. You know, that's our retirement. I mean, we have life insurance and health and all that stuff, but I mean, I'm not sitting here going, I need a 401k. And, you know, if I lose all my money, I'm going to go work at Publix. If I lose all my fucking money, I'm not going to work at Publix. I'm going to go sell some fucking real estate. Okay. Because real estate is what I do.
I think that's
what you do.
Yeah. Like, we talked about it earlier, right? Like, oh man, I lost my train of thought there, but it was going to be good. Like part-time. Oh, no, like no backup plan. Right. And going all in, if you are like, I'm going to have this job over here, forcing function, that's the word I was missing. If I'm going to have this job over here, it's going to pay the bills, and I'm going to start doing real estate on the side. If you never have that pain, that forcing function, it's going to be super hard for you to get all in.
Yeah.
And so you do have to kind of burn the boats and jump all in. And, you know, of all the people we've met, and Carlos knows more stories than I do, I don't know many situations where part-time has like worked. It's a a small amount of people. The biggest one I do know is Bill Allen, who, phenomenal guy, phenomenal company that he has, but he was in the military. And he's like, I have to stick through. I have this, whatever kind of arrangement
that's different.
he had. Yeah, and
he had to finish that
so
hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he, I mean, it worked for him and did great, and he had a successful military career, and now has a very successful.
100%. I don't consider that part-time though. I consider that transitionary. Like I had that. I was doing BPOs for a buddy of mine while I was staying up late at night while I worked for Hughes, but I had to put my 30 days in. Like I had to. I wasn't going to leave. I mean, I love those people. So where's I go, fuck you, I quit. No, that's not how somebody like me who's raised does it.
No,
you put your time in, you let them know you're professional, you're respectable, be a good human. I agree, man. Listen, if you're not willing, all I want to say is if you're not willing to quit your job or whatever it is because you got to feed your kids and all that, obviously you don't believe in yourself enough. And if you don't believe in yourself enough, if we take it all the way back, and I wrote these down so I can actually, because I wasn't lying when I say I wrote it down, there is no way, right, you're going to get to the long-term focus, daily execution, and consistency. You cannot focus on that. You're not going to be able to do it if you don't believe in yourself 100%. Because like I said, it's like a prison, right? Every day it's going to be fucking tough. And if you don't believe in yourself enough to get through those tough days, well, that's why you don't believe in yourself enough to burn all the boats.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. Two more to jam on. The next is a certain level of obsession. So think about it, guys. This is another good, just kind of reflective. Like, if you were to really look, how do you spend your 24 hours in a day on 168 hours in a week? How much of that, and I think it's kind of like a plane that takes off. Like when a plane's first taking off, it uses so much energy. Like it uses like 70%, 80% of its energy until it gets up to a certain altitude, and it's more or less able to cruise or coast a little bit more. But for those of you guys either starting out, and this applies for even seasoned people that have been doing a decade like Bob P, like how obsessed are you with this one thing? And it kind of is like even the last thing, like burning the boats, like how you have to have a certain level of obsession, for lack of a better phrase or lack of a better term, with this business. Big guy in the space, Max Maxwell, talks about he used to watch NFL all day on Sundays, watch sports. When he flipped the switch and he got started in like 2016, 2017, he completely cut out sports, NFL Sunday. Everything he listened and watched was real estate wholesaling, driving for dollars, cold calling, just absolutely consumed. that story I've heard so many other times from people, not cutting out NFL, but essentially just all your focus, all your consumption is people having success, real estate wholesaling, everything like that. So in short, from my perspective, pretty self-explanatory. We got the shades on, love that. It's a certain level of obsession with what you're doing is really what it boils down to. You gotta have it.
I think Brandon explained it really well in that last segment when he said that if this business goes under today, I'm not going to work at Publix. I'm going to keep doing real estate. And like, that's the level of obsession. Because you hear so many people be like, you know, what's the next side hustle I can do that's, you know, currently making money, and, you know, Amazon web sales, whatever, reselling, whatever. And it's like a lot of people look for that type of additional income. The ones that we know to be the most incredibly successful, this is not their like side passion. This is what they live and breathe and get excited about, want to learn about. They're not just in it for the potential of success. They're in it because they enjoy the actual thing of it. And that's why I'm in SaaS. Like, I love solving problems through software. And every time I was just somewhere last night and they were explaining, it was whatever. And I was like, oh man, I could solve this problem with software. And it's like, that's just how I'm wired. And that's what I like. And it's around me always and will always be. Can't imagine anything in any other way. So I would imagine it's the same for you with real estate, Brandon, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, boom. Everything I see. I mean, me, my wife, and my kids were out at a property this weekend sweeping the floors and doing it instead of laying on a couch. It was a whole family thing. We had to go to the grocery store. There's love bugs. If you're not from Florida, you don't know the pain of love bugs. I mean, it's just, there is no, we could have a whole other, in fact, we should write this down about work-life balance. Work-life balance is a fucking hoax when you're obsessed with something. When you love it, it's just life, baby. This is.
It is life, baby. That's what we're in. And like what we've talked about, like we're about to say paradox here in a minute, but one of the paradoxes is like when you do find your work and something you enjoy doing, that's what ends up like, that's a big variable in your overall quality of life and happiness.
Yeah, it's not work when you love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty about it when you find something to be obsessed about. I love real estate. Even our Op Center, the software we're partnering on, it's real estate related. I'm not solving anything else other than a real estate problem because I need it for my business. Yeah. I love it. You got to be obsessed. Be obsessed or be average.
Oh, be obsessed or be average. The amount of little nuggets coming from Brandon one-liners here is phenomenal.
Be obsessed. That was Greg Cardone, but yeah. It's the sunglasses.
Be obsessed or be average, Spectrum Internet. The paradox of not caring. The final trait that we have, the paradox of not caring what others think. I'm starting this off with one of my favorite people of all time. If life goes according to plan, this will be my firstborn son's name, Marcus Aurelius. And this is also an example of a quote that I have in my prosperity and abundance box that I look at every single morning before starting before putting my work pail on and clocking in for the day. The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do. You only care about what you do. That's kind of the stoic way of saying it. As someone that is hot on the DISC assessment, I'm like 99.9% I, which I believe is like influencer, but not influencer in the term of social media. But I really care about like loving people and people loving me and being friends with everybody and having like my relationship, my health score relationship really, really high with people, because logically, like it doesn't make sense for me to have a bad relationship with anybody. And I kind of have a general understanding and see everybody as like, we're all humans, we're all on the same path. We're all working towards like a better world and stuff. So for me, this is something that I'm improving on and I'm 100% not perfect at, is caring about what kind of like how other people think or where you're at with people. And it is a paradox, as we were chopping it up for this week. like you do and you don't care, and there's different levels of like where you're at as far as more of like a beginner versus seasoned investor. But what we're getting at with this trait is it's both for successful people. Like you can use it as a chip on your shoulder. Like if you see people that maybe aren't fond of you, or maybe they don't like what you say, think, or do, you can use that as a chip on your shoulder for success. And we've seen a lot of people do that. And it really is like a sliding scale, because as you are more successful in business, it's easier for you to care less, if that makes sense. So went through a couple things there, and kind of want to, as this last one, we're kind of capping it here, kind of get your guys' opinion on the paradox of not caring what others think.
I think it's really like what you just said there. Like it's a hard thing to walk out of the gate with, unless you're a rare human being. And it's something that happens with time, because it's just like comparing yourself to others is just like a natural, huge part of culture. And to like fully like ignore that is pretty hard until you get to the point where like I can't ignore that. What do you think, Brandin?
I think we all care about what everyone thinks, especially in the beginning. It's not that you ever stop caring about what other people think. It's that the confidence in what you're doing, right? The confidence in what you're doing has grown so much that it doesn't matter anymore.
That's it right there.
You're so confident in what you're doing, what others think aren't inside your mind. It's not that if you dwell on it, these things don't get to you. But eventually your confidence, when you walk in a room, you're not thinking, oh, what's this person thinking or not? You realize you're so confident that none of that compares to you. You're so focused on you. I think it's what's wrong with our industry. I think it's reason.
He was on a good topic there. Yeah, he'll be right back to tell us more about what's wrong with the industry.
It's why we only post our wins and not our losses. It's why we only talk about how great our business is doing. And it's something that I personally have a problem with, allowing people in to see the way I do what I do and what type of criticism I'm going to get. And I think it's why Instagram only shows one aspect of it. And there's people out there that still try to do it, but no one does it on a real basis, showing all of their losses. Trust me, if you followed me on a daily basis, you'd be like, holy fuck, does this guy ever fucking win? I don't need to win more times than I lose. My wins just have to be bigger than all of my losses combined. And that's the thing, is we take a lot. There's another one. You take a lot more losses along the way, right? You win a lot more. You lose a lot more
than you win. You lose a lot more than you win. I would agree with that too.
Oh yeah.
In hindsight, 2020.
It's all about winning the war. And that's something I struggle with on posting, and I'd like to get better at it myself, is that confidence of just posting even all my losses and not just focusing on like, oh, here are my wins. I think the world would be better off with it. But again, that's not what people want to follow.
Yeah.
Because then you have to ask yourself, if I post all my losses, are people going to actually say, holy fuck, why should I listen to this guy? All this guy does is lose. So what do? They want the clout. They want that immediate gratification. Should they show the wins? People go, holy fuck, this person's winning. Let's go fucking follow this person. And it's the sickness of society. And that's the problem. But to fully round this out, when you are good at what you do and when you're so passionate about it, right? Forget about social media, just in general, about your friends, your family, your employees, all the people, right, who are judging what you're doing or your ideas. When you are so confident in your experience, in your ability, and your mission for your organization of what you're trying to achieve, you stop caring what people think. In the beginning, you're going to care not just about social media, what I was talking about. You're going to care about what your mom thinks, your friends think, your family thinks, your employee. When you go to interview that person, what are they going to think about my organization? What are they going to think about my shitty little office? Oh my God, I don't even have an office. But as you start and you believe in that mission so much, none of that shit matters. And that's the paradox, is it all comes down to the confidence. It never changes. Those thoughts from everybody are always there. You just silo them out and section them out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%.
Love that.
And I've talked about that before too. Like when I first started wholesaling, I would talk to friends that were realtors or friends' parents that were realtors, and they would say like, "Oh, it's illegal. You can't do that. Why don't you come get a license and work with me?" And I could have easily done that. Like one of the biggest producers in Hartford County, like Baltimore suburbs, was our neighbor. And they lived in our neighborhood. Still one of the biggest realtor, like top 50 realtors in all of Maryland. I could have easily went to community college or went to 4-year Maryland and got like a realtor. Probably would have crushed it. Probably would still have an amazing quality of life. It'd be crazy thinking about that reality, but if I didn't stick with it, kind of like those uncomfortable conversations or kind of getting like slighted, I wouldn't be here, working with Investor Fuse, talking to people all over the country, really all over in different parts of the world, Israel, Canada, stuff like that, if it wasn't for that. So I'm glad that I stuck it out and didn't get deterred by that, and encourage anybody, whether you're seasoned, beginner, there's going to be some shit that could get you down, and stick with it. Because it's an amazing industry to be in.
It's always going to be there, man. It's never going to go away. It never is. But, the people, when you get your confidence right, you start to realize, and it's something I've started to realize, it's like, it's so true. You're never judged on by people doing more than you, only people doing less than you, only people
So
wishing
true.
they were doing what you were doing or had
So
what you
true.
had. And you don't realize that until you get that internal confidence. And I believe that confidence comes from your experience.
Agreed.
Those are good traits. Now, I feel like I'm not just patting myself on the back, and maybe I am, but I came down here, delayed gratification, systems in life, long-term focus, consistency, somewhat risk tolerant, burn the boats, certain level of obsession, paradox of not caring what other people think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I'm going to be completely 100% vulnerable and honest, I have 6 out of the 7. I'm still working on not caring what other people think. And I think that when I get over that hurdle, I think the world will literally open up. And that's one hurdle I have yet to be able to internally get over. That's just the truth.
I think that's hard for everybody to get over.
Yeah.
Something I still struggle with. I mean, I remember the conversations of my parents being like, "What are you doing? Like, why? You're starting your own company? Like, is that wise? Do you need to get another job? Like,
It's not
what's your plan B when this fails?"
Yeah.
And then I still have those same kind of doubts as it relates to SaaS software and what we build and the organization we have. I think, it will be intriguing. We can all loop back in a couple of years, and we can all see where we're at with our paradox of not caring.
I think, well, my goal is to work on that pretty fast. So
let's get to it.
I think that you can have some, and not all, but it's kind of like what I said, is where I have 6 of the 7, and I still feel that the world hasn't opened up to me. So I feel like you can't achieve that ultimate vision goal if you don't have all 7 of these. Can you have money? Can you be comfortable? Can you feed your family, pay the bills? Yes, you can. Fuck, dude, we can all get by. I think Carlos is right. I think these 7 traits are kind of like a roundabout way of saying, if you have these, you're good.
Yeah.
If you're missing some, you need to go work on them to grow.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement for sure.
Or you need to partner with somebody that picks up where you the things that you have.
That is another option as well. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah. Whew. This was solid. This was great. I love when Carlos leads the episodes.
I know.
Love it.
So much insight.
We're gonna have to do this more often.
For sure.
One way I would.
All the comments. Look at this. Carlos, you're the man. What is that comment? Carlos, you're the man. Need Carlos more often. Yeah, we do. I see it.
Studies would suggest something like that. One way of kind of, like, as we were thinking about this, like doing like the prep for this week and stuff, but Ed Milet really like synthesized a lot of this. And in short, he said, this is kind of the 7 traits.
Preach it.
Successful people have a different relationship with pain. on the other side of temporary pain, you're introduced to your other self. So it kind of encapsulates like all this type of stuff that we're talking about. Sure, the most, word wise, the most one that reflects that is delayed gratification, but it really encapsulates all this. And Ed Milet gave a fantastic presentation at Scale and Scape talking all about that. Essentially delayed gratification, pain, and that's what we've been rapping on today, guys.
Yeah. It's not about you get knocked down. How many times you get knocked down? It's about how fast you get back up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the ultimate thing. Every one of these delayed gratification, pain, systems in your life, chaos, pain, right? Like, how can you deal long-term focused daily execution goals? Pain, risk, pain, burning the boats, pain, obsession. There is so much pain in obsession, caring about what people think, the negativity, pain. I mean, it is. It's like, it's when you're going through hell, you don't look back. You just keep on going,
Yep.
It's like being in that prison, like you just got to keep moving forward and surviving. How long can you survive? I bet you I could survive longer than most. It's like Rocky going full round with Apollo Creed. He didn't lose. He didn't win, but he fucking won in Rocky 1. That was the whole thing. He went the full round, got annihilated, beat to a pulp, but he did it. And I think that's the epitome of what he's saying. How much pain are you willing to tolerate? Rocky was getting obliterated and beaten down, but he was so long-term focused and consistent with taking that beating that he made it to the other side, went the full term, boom, and that's when he took off. That's when the world opened up to him, when he endured all the pain that he had to endure. If anyone hasn't seen Rocky,
phenomenal metaphor.
It is. David Goggins, if anybody that I talk to, my most listened to podcast of all time is Joe Rogan, David Goggins, episode 1080. Like, have literally listened to that hundreds and hundreds of times. But David Goggins would keep watching that scene and Apollo Creed's reaction to Rocky, like, getting up after being plummeted. He's like, this guy will not stop. So listen to that episode if you haven't heard it. But David Goggins raps on that same exact thing. Like, he was trying to embody Rocky, talking about Be Do Have. He was trying to embody Rocky. Like, no matter what life throws at me, I want to be like Rocky in Rocky 1 when Apollo Creed just beats him to a pulp and he just keeps getting up. And Apollo's face is like, what is this guy? Like, is this guy even like human?
That's it. Yeah, like, what the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? Like, that it was even like that in like Rocky 4. They thought he was like a machine, man. The guy just wouldn't. He's like, it ain't so bad. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I got to go watch those again. That's it. You guys,
I'm about to watch that clip.
I'm going home. I'm watching all of the Rocky movies right now, and I'm throwing in Creed. I don't care. I'm watching them all, baby. I'm ready to go. All right, Pulse of the Week. What do we have for Pulse of the Week, guys?
Inflation and mortgage prices.
More and more.
Crazy out there. Mortgage prices, John, where are they at?
6%. I think it was yesterday I saw that.
I want to say, okay, listen. I'm sorry, this is so off topic, but I couldn't help but look at my phone. I've had trouble selling my flip.
Yeah.
Okay, going into this. All of a sudden, rates go up to 6% within less than a 24-hour period, like all day. I just got 2 text messages for 2 more showings. I have more showings this week than, honestly, I think I've had the entire last month that it was on the market. I think people are trying to lock in their low rates now, and they're just making a move. I mean, honestly, like I had one 31 minutes ago, one 22 minutes ago, and I'm just waiting for this video and be like, yes, please go show this side this crap. I can stop fucking cleaning it.
Oh man, that's intriguing. Yeah, people like. Do you still have the deal that you're offering on the?
I took it away and I dropped the price. I'm taking a $50K haircut. Ooh. Obviously, I bought the deal so well that my partners and I will still make money. It's about buying a deal right, people. Excellent negotiations. Negotiated this one myself. Out on the back.
Add that to part 2 of successful traits of a real estate investor.
Batting on the back.
No, negotiation skills.
Yeah, negotiation.
And buying deals right.
But yeah, I took a $50K. We were at $399. We're at $349. And it was funny. I say this. We went out there Saturday and cleaned it. Saturday night, I dropped the price from $374 to $349, right? So $50K gone since listing, $25K overnight. Nothing. Crickets. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All of a sudden, Wednesday night and today, I'm getting blown up on this thing. I was freaking. I'm like, how the fuck is nobody looking at this property? It is and I did a phenomenal job. Okay, like the flip is designed aesthetically pleasing. Nobody. Until today,
Crazy.
rates go up. All of a sudden, I'm getting hit up. I'm not saying any one of these people is going to buy it. I believe one of them will. I believe that. But it's just the fact that I'm getting that much activity when mortgage rates are going up. I think people are locking in their rates at the lower rate, and they're trying to move in because they understand. I think the Fed meets again on the 21st, and they're going to talk about another rate hike. So I think, now's the time. And I'm pretty much, I'm slowing down on the flips. So, we got our mobile home park we're closing on next month. And, it's we're trying to buy more parks, more creative deals.
Carlos wasn't here for that. And I don't know if he watched the episode.
I did not.
Yeah. Pulse of the week, baby. I got my meeting tomorrow with Prime Corporate Services, a recommendation from Pace Morby. Not that I personally know Pace, but a YouTube video, because I even with my experience, I'm learning all type of stuff from YouTube videos. He had that guy on. I messaged my wife and I said, I think this is who we need to set up our new LLCs with for our mobile home park investments. And we have our meeting. They were like a week booked out. So Prime Corporate Services Friday, we have our meeting with them. We're going to get our LLC set up, get everything geared up, so that way we can get it opened up and we can buy the mobile home park. 36 units, buying it for 1.4. Stoked.
Nice. Yeah,
Super
shout
exciting.
out Prime Corporate Services. They were at Scale and Escape as well. Got to chat with those dudes, and Steve texted with him, and he got us set up with some promotion type stuff that we've done as well on the investor view side. So
yeah,
great.
I checked
great
their
company.
stuff out. They look legit. I didn't use them yet. I can give you next week. I can give you my opinion on them. But I feel like if other people have no complaints, I probably won't either. But we'll see. I'm a picky person.
I like it. All right, guys.
Wow.
Well,
longest episode to date, John.
I know. Look at us go. That was a good episode, though. Good things to talk about.
No. How dare you say, look at us go? Look at Carlos go. Look at Carlos go. 6 degrees separation from Carlos Zamora. Let's see how many people we can connect to. I need a VA, just like Nick outsourced his vision board to VAs. I need to outsource some type of spider web thing with Carlos in the middle, and how we could tie everybody in the industry back to Carlos Zamora, and we can show the true 6 degrees of separation of Carlos. I'm going to hire a VA just for this
100%.
job.
Love that.
I like that. That would be fun.
All right, guys. Excellent.
All right.
episode.
Happy Friday. Have a great weekend, guys.
Have fun in San Diego there, Carlos.
Thank you.